loan forgiveness has been a popular topic on the campaign trail, not just this year, but in previous campaigns. President Biden making headlines for a sweeping effort, at least an attempt to wipe out millions in student debt, rebuffed by the Supreme Court, but still going through with it through some different programs. My guest tonight says the president needs to give up on those efforts. Neetu Arnold is a Young Voices contributor. She wrote about this in Newsweek, and she's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Thank you for having me.
This has been, I think back to covering Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders years ago, and this was something that really was a progressive wish list topic that worked its way down to Joe Biden, who ran on this topic right now. But he has been dealt legal blows. There have been legal challenges against these efforts. There are still legal challenges underway. Why do you think the president should give up on these efforts?
Right. So this is the Biden administration's second attempt at loan forgiveness. In 2023, the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional, and it doesn't look like the path is looking any brighter this time around. According to legal experts, if the Biden administration were to get a second term, this plan is going back to the Supreme Court, and they've made their stance very clear on this issue. On the other hand, if a Republican administration were to take over, then student loan forgiveness is going to get rescinded. And meanwhile, the Biden administration has more immediate problems on its hands. I mean, we have the rollout of the FAFSA form, which is a form that students file to receive financial assistance to attend college.
We know that so well, don't we?
Yes, it is such a mess right now. Those forms have been riddled with errors. There are millions of students who have no idea how much aid they're getting, whether they're going to college. So this is really the most immediate issue the administration should focus on.
So one of the things, I don't want to say caveats, but one of the differences it seems this time around is they're focusing on the idea that it's about the interest, it's about the accrued interest that they're trying to wipe away with, saying that they are runaway costs right now. Many people who oppose these efforts say, though, that if the loan holder is not paying these, then who ends up footing the bill? And the conventional wisdom is eventually, in one way or another, the taxpayers do.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I disagree with the framing that interest is some runaway cost, that it's not necessary. I mean, the reason that interest exists on these loans, it's not because it's about being predatory. It gives banks, it gives government a reason to even lend in the first place.
There's also the concern about costs. Because when you look at college costs, yes, I paid loans. Maybe you paid loans. A lot of people watching this paid loans. College was a lot cheaper back in the day for many of us. I think my tuition at my state school was maybe $7,000 a year. That same school now is $12,000, $13,000 a year. So how do you address that issue? Because that seems to be something that dovetails with the rising cost of college and the rising cost of going there.
I think you bring up some very valid points. One thing to remember is that student loan forgiveness maintains a broken system. It doesn't attempt to fix it. So I have two ideas here. So one, we should allow bankruptcy. So students or borrowers who are struggling to repay their loans, they should have that out. They should have that option. At the same time, and this is super important, we need to make sure we also place conditions on those loans. We should make sure that the students who are getting these loans can first complete their programs. So we would consider things like test scores and GPAs. This is just to ensure that the student even has a chance to complete the program. And we should also look at the kinds of degrees these students, or the kinds of programs these students are entering. If a student is entering a program where there isn't a high return on investment, they're going to struggle to repay those loans. So I think we should be considering these two factors whenever we do disperse student loans.
And I think that's a really good point, because there are many different ways to look at this. And one of the things I think that might be unfair an unfair generalization at times. People who oppose these efforts saying, "Well, look, these are students who are going off and they're getting feminist study degrees and they're getting these degrees where there isn't much of a demand for." But the reality is, student loan debt is something that affects doctors and nurses and attorneys and teachers. So I think you got to get a lot of people to the table here and have a discussion, because it's not a black or white issue. There are a lot of factors that go into something like this. If you want to read more about Neetu's piece, it's in Newsweek. We'll push out a link on our social media channels. Neetu, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
And the Final Five is back after this.